Okay, so this happened a few years back, summer of 2013. I was 19, and my cousin Benny had just turned 20. We were driving from our hometown in Colorado all the way to visit some friends in a tiny college town in Nebraska called Elm Ridge. It was one of those last-minute road trip ideas. Cheap gas, a beat-up car, and a long playlist of songs we never ended up playing. We figured we could make the whole 14-hour drive in one shot if we switched off. I took the first leg of the drive. After about 4 hours on the road, Benny took over. The idea was that I'd catch some sleep while he drove the next stretch, but no matter what I did, hoodie over my face, window cracked open, even tried curling up in the back seat, I couldn't fall asleep. My body just wouldn't relax. So when it was my turn to take the wheel again, I was somehow even more wiped out than before. I was still functional, eyes open, hands on the wheel, but barely, and I wasn't paying attention the way I should have been. See, Benny's car was this old '98 Toyota Corolla. No alerts, no screens, nothing fancy. Just a gas gauge with a needle that was always jittering like it had anxiety. I never even glanced at it. The first sign that something was wrong was when the engine made this low sputtering noise. At first I thought maybe something was wrong with the radio. Then the car jerked. And then silence. We were coasting. Benny snapped awake in the passenger seat. I remember his exact words. "You didn't get gas?" I just stared at him, gripping the steering wheel, trying to think of an excuse. But there wasn't one. I messed up. We rolled to a stop on a long, empty stretch of highway. No streetlights, no houses, no cars. Just flat land, cornfields on both sides, and a night sky that felt too big for comfort. Benny grabbed his phone and pulled up a map. "There's a gas station about 4 miles ahead," he said. "It's not great, but it's something." We debated calling for help, but neither of us wanted to shell out a couple $100 for a tow truck just for a gallon of gas. It didn't seem that bad at the time. Just a quick walk, right? He said he'd go on foot while I stayed with the car, just in case someone came by. "I'll be back in like an hour tops," he said. He didn't even seem worried, but that road had other plans. He grabbed a small flashlight from the glove box and a gas can from the trunk, then started walking down the shoulder of the highway. His figure disappeared quickly into the dark, swallowed by the horizon like a drop of ink in water. At first, I just sat in the car, stewing in my mistakes. But about 10 minutes later, something weird happened. Headlights. They came from way up the road, the direction Benny had walked toward. The car was moving slowly, way too slow, maybe 15 miles per hour. Just crawling along the pavement like it was hunting something. I figured maybe it was a lost traveler or someone being cautious. But when it passed me, the driver didn't even glance over. No nod, no offer of help, nothing. Just silence. And then it slowed down even more. Stopped. Turned around. That's when the feeling hit me. You know that icy sinking feeling in your stomach when something just feels off? Like you're not in danger yet, but you're about to be? The car came back, this time even slower. I'm talking walking pace. I couldn't make out the person inside, just the outline of a head behind the wheel. I turned away and pretended to look at my phone, heart racing. They passed by, then drove off again. Same direction as before, and for a few minutes nothing happened. But I couldn't shake it, so I grabbed my phone and tried calling Benny. It rang and rang, but he didn't answer. I waited a bit and called again. Still nothing. That's when the panic crept in. I started imagining all the worst-case scenarios. What if something happened to him? What if he was lost? What if that car had found him instead? I got out, locked the doors, and started jogging. The night air was cold and still. Not even a breeze. No bugs, no birds, and just silence. The kind of silence that feels loud. With every step I took, my nerves tightened like someone was winding me up with an invisible crank. I jogged for maybe 15 minutes. No sign of Benny. That didn't make sense. He should have been within sight by now. I called his phone one more time. This time I heard it ringing, faint and far off. Not from the road, from the field beside it. I stopped in my tracks. The corn stretched out on both sides of the road like dark walls. I squinted, trying to see where the sound was coming from, and then I saw it. A dim little light flickering in the grass. "His phone," I called out. "Benny?" No response. I stepped off the pavement into the grass, heart pounding so loud it was all I could hear. I moved closer, calling his name again. Then I heard him. "Get down," he hissed. I hit the ground immediately. From where I lay, face pressed into the dirt, I saw headlights again, coming up slow. Same car. They were back. The car moved slowly past where I'd just been standing. Then it turned off its lights. I swear I stopped breathing. For several minutes, the car just idled in the dark. The engine hummed quietly. Then it moved again, back and forth, like it was circling, like it was searching. After what felt like forever, the engine faded into the distance. I whispered, "Benny?" He appeared out of the tall grass maybe 10 feet from me. Pale as a ghost, dirt smeared across his clothes. "We gotta go," he said. Now we ran. Didn't even talk. Just ran like animals being chased. When we finally made it to the gas station, we slammed through the doors like we were escaping a horror movie. The cashier looked up from behind the counter, startled. We must have looked like we'd seen death. Maybe we had. We called the police and told them everything. The man in the car, the slow driving, the hiding, the flashlight, all of it. Benny finally told me what had happened. That car had pulled up next to him maybe 5 minutes after he left me. The guy inside, middle-aged, greasy hair, eyes that didn't blink, offered him a ride. Benny said no. The guy asked again and again, then he got out. Benny took off. No warning, just pure adrenaline. He ran into the field, dropped the gas can, and dove into the corn. The guy searched with his car, lights sweeping the roadside, engine revving. At one point, the guy actually stopped and stood outside his car, listening. Benny didn't move a muscle. He lay there, terrified, not knowing if he'd be found. When it was finally quiet again, he reached for his phone. It had fallen out somewhere. He found it when I called. That man was hunting us. The police said they'd patrol the area, said they'd look into it. But we never heard anything again, never found out who he was, whether he was some psycho passing through or someone who lived nearby, just waiting for a car to break down. We drove home in silence the next morning. Windows up, doors locked. To this day, we don't talk about that night much, but there's not a single time I get behind the wheel that I don't think about it, and I never forget to check the gas gauge. Okay, so this happened back in the summer of 2019, and even now I still think about it sometimes when I'm alone in my car at night. It was the kind of thing that didn't seem real while it was happening, like something out of a creepy movie. But it was real. Too real. I had just graduated college and didn't have anything lined up yet. My cousin Rachel called and told me they were throwing a surprise party for her mom's 55th birthday. They live out in Ashfield, a small town in Colorado I hadn't been to in years. I was in El Paso at the time, and instead of flying, which was super expensive that week, I figured, why not take a road trip? I'd never done one alone before. I thought it might be kind of fun, maybe even relaxing. I planned it as a 3-day drive so I wouldn't have to rush or get too tired. I even made a playlist and downloaded a couple of mystery podcasts for the drive. Honestly, I was kind of excited about the whole thing. The first day went fine. Long, boring highways, a few sketchy gas station bathrooms, and way too many vending machine snacks. By the time I reached this little town near the New Mexico border, it was almost 10 p.m. I was too tired to keep going, so I found this rundown motel called Desert Ridge Inn. It had a flickering neon sign and a parking lot that was more weeds than pavement. But I figured it's just one night. Inside, it smelled like old air freshener and microwave dinners. The guy at the front desk barely looked up when I came in. He handed me a key and pointed toward room 12 without saying a word. I crashed hard that night. Didn't even change out of my jeans. Just fell asleep the second I hit the bed. Next morning I woke up late, like almost 11. I got up, packed my stuff, and opened the door, ready to hit the road again. And that's when I saw him. There was a man standing right there outside my door. He wasn't doing anything, just standing, like he'd been waiting for me to open it. Excuse me, I said, trying not to sound freaked out. I squeezed past him, but he didn't move much. Just stared. He looked like he was in his late 40s, maybe early 50s, tall, kind of wiry, with greasy black hair and deep bags under his eyes, the kind you get from either never sleeping or staying up for all the wrong reasons. He had this dead look in his eyes like he wasn't all there. But the worst part was his mouth. This weird half smile like he was amused by something I couldn't see. I tried to act normal, even though I could feel my heartbeat in my ears. I shoved my stuff into the back seat of my car, pretending like I didn't notice him still standing there, just a few feet away, watching me. He didn't blink much, didn't say a word, just stared. I got in my car, locked the doors, and got out of there fast. The next leg of the trip was supposed to be the longest, a good 10 hours of driving. The first few hours were okay. I passed through a couple small towns, grabbed gas and snacks here and there, and even listened to a cheesy podcast about alien abductions. It helped keep my mind off the motel guy. But after about 6 hours, everything started to stretch out. Towns got smaller. Then they disappeared altogether. Just miles and miles of open road, desert brush, and the occasional creepy billboard. The sun was starting to dip, and I figured I should fill up one more time before it got dark. I pulled into this beat-up little gas station. No name, just gas painted in red letters on a rusted-out sign. I swiped my card and started pumping gas, then walked into the mini-mart to grab a coffee. They had one of those old machines with 3 stained pots and lukewarm coffee that tastes like ashtray water. But I didn't care. As I walked back to my car, I stopped. There was another car pulled up right in front of mine. A faded red Honda Civic. It was close, like way too close, almost touching my bumper. Nobody was outside it. The windows were super tinted, darker than I thought was legal. I couldn't see anything inside, but I had this weird feeling like someone was in there staring straight at me. You know that feeling you get when someone's looking at you and you just know? I tried to play it cool, took the pump out, got in my car, and drove off. A few seconds later, the Red Civic pulled out too. At first, I told myself it was a coincidence. I mean, maybe they were just leaving at the same time. But they didn't stop for gas. They didn't buy anything. That car had just been sitting there waiting. Now it was behind me. Not tailgating, just always there. A few car lengths back. For the next hour, I kept glancing at my rearview mirror. The Civic stayed with me. Never passed. Never turned off. Just kept following. Eventually, the sun went down completely. The highway was almost empty now. Just my headlights and a line of darkness stretching out forever. I couldn't tell anymore if the Civic was still there. Just a bunch of headlights in the mirror. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Another hour passed. My eyes were burning. I was fighting to stay awake. The next real city was still 2 hours away. I told myself I'd stop for one more coffee. Not even for the caffeine, just to have something warm to hold on to. Something to focus on. So when I saw a gas station sign, I pulled off the highway. But right away I knew something was off. This station was dead. The convenience store lights were off. The pumps looked ancient. There were no other cars, no sound. Just wind. Still, I needed gas, so I pulled in. As I started filling up, I heard it. That soft crunch of tires on gravel. One car. One pair of headlights. I looked up and my stomach dropped. The Red Civic. It turned off the highway and pulled into the station fast. Too fast, it didn't go to a pump. It didn't even slow down. It drove right up to my door. Before I could react, the passenger door flew open and a man jumped out. It was him, the same man from the motel. Same greasy hair. Same sunken eyes. Same disturbing grin. He came right at my door and yanked the handle. Thank God it was locked. I fumbled with my keys, started the engine, and peeled out so fast I nearly clipped one of the pumps. In my mirror, I saw him standing there watching me. That smile still stretched across his face like it was some kind of sick joke. But here's the part that really gets me. He came out of the passenger side. That means someone else was driving. I never saw who it was. Never got a look. But someone else was in that car. Someone who followed me for over 10 hours, maybe even longer. And they weren't just messing around. They knew what they were doing. They waited. They watched. They planned. I didn't stop again until I reached Brighton, around 2 a.m. I pulled into the first hotel I saw, locked every door and window, and stayed awake until sunrise with a chair pushed under the handle. I filed a police report the next day. They were polite, but I could tell they didn't think much of it. Just a weird encounter, but I know what I saw. I know how close it came to something way worse. And every time I take a road trip now, I make sure my car doors are locked the second I stop. Because somewhere out there, someone like him might be waiting again. Back in 2016, I was a 20-year-old college student trying to get home for Christmas break. My name's Evan, and I was going from my small school in Oregon all the way back to my parents' place in Illinois. That meant hours and hours of highway, sometimes entire days of nothing but road, gas stations, and the same 5 playlists looping over and over. I didn't have money for hotels, seriously. I was the kind of broke where you eat instant noodles for 3 meals a day. So my plan was simple. Drive until I couldn't keep my eyes open, then crash in my car for a few hours. I had a couple of blankets, a hoodie, and the idea that I was young enough to tough it out. The first night went fine, but the second night, that's the one I'll never forget. It was around 1 a.m. I'd been driving for about 11 straight hours and was beyond exhausted. My head kept nodding, my vision blurry, and every time I blinked I felt like I might not open my eyes again. I knew I couldn't push it anymore, so I pulled into the next rest stop I saw. Now this wasn't one of those nice big rest areas with lots of lights, cameras, and semi-trucks parked everywhere. No, this was one of those tiny pull-offs on the side of the highway, barely lit by flickering yellow lamps, the kind of place that feels like it shouldn't exist. There were maybe 4 parking spots, a small brick building with bathrooms and a couple of vending machines, and nothing else but black wood stretching out on all sides. Only one other car was there, parked all the way in the back. I figured the driver was asleep, so I parked at the opposite end to give us both space. I grabbed my phone, stretched my legs, and headed to the bathroom. The inside was awful, dim buzzing lights, graffiti on the stalls, and a smell that made me want to hold my breath. I hurried through and left. That's when I saw him. Standing right outside my car window was a man. He was leaning down, his hands cupped against the glass, peering into the back seat of my car. My car had no tinted windows, so you could easily see inside without pressing up against the glass like that. But there he was. My voice startled him. Can I help you?" He jumped a little, then smiled awkwardly. He said he was just checking if anyone was inside because he wanted to ask if I had cash for the vending machine. His excuse didn't sit right with me. Why would you need to press your face right up to the window if you just wanted to see if someone was there? And who even asks a stranger for vending machine money at 1 a.m? I shook my head. "Sorry, man, I don't have any cash." I slid past him and got into my car.
He didn't leave, though.
He tried to make small talk, asking what I was doing out there that late. His voice was too cheerful, like he was forcing friendliness. I told him I was on a road trip and really needed to sleep. Finally, he waved an "oh, okay" kind of gesture and walked back to his car. I watched him in my rearview mirror. He sat in his car, not turning it on, just sitting there. Too tired to care, I tossed my stuff into the back seat, reclined my chair, and closed my eyes. But I couldn't relax. Something felt wrong. My chest was tight and my ears kept straining for sounds. After a few minutes, I noticed movement. Headlights. I opened my eyes and sat up. The man had moved his car. He'd pulled it directly behind mine, close enough that if I wanted to back out, I'd have to squeeze past him. That was it. My heart was pounding, but I knew I couldn't stay there. I shoved my seat up, turned the key, and drove out, muttering under my breath. The road stretched on, mile after mile of dark highway. My eyelids were heavy, my body begging me to stop. Finally, after what felt like forever, I spotted another rest stop. Relief washed over me, until I pulled in. This one was abandoned. The building was boarded up and covered in spray paint. The lights above the parking lot either flickered weakly or were broken entirely. The place looked like no one had used it in years, but I was desperate. I figured it was actually safer. No one around, no weird strangers, just me and my car in the middle of nowhere. So I parked, locked the doors, and leaned back. Within minutes I was out. I woke up to the sound of glass exploding. The car shook violently. My heart leapt into my throat as I scrambled awake. Headlights glared in my mirrors. Another car was parked right behind me. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A man stood next to my car. He had a baseball bat. He swung it again. Another crash. My back window shattered completely. I screamed, fumbling for my keys, shouting, "What the hell?" Then he leaned toward the passenger side window. The broken glass crunched under his shoes as he smiled at me. That creepy, too-wide grin. It was the same man from the first rest stop. He slammed the bat against the door and started chanting one word. Over and over, "Liar, liar, liar." His voice was sing-song like a twisted nursery rhyme. Each time he said it, he grinned wider. His eyes didn't look angry. They looked entertained, like he was enjoying this little game. I didn't know what he meant. What was I lying about? What was he talking about? My hands shook as I shoved the key into the ignition. The car roared to life and I floored it. The tires squealed. The car lurched forward and I sped out of that lot as fast as I could. My phone nearly slipped from my sweaty hands as I called 911. My voice cracked as I told them what happened. They told me to pull into the nearest lit area, so I found a gas station and waited. When the police arrived, they walked around my car. 2 windows shattered, dents all over the doors, and my back tire slashed almost completely flat. I hadn't even realized how close I came to being stranded in that dark, empty place. Another officer went back to the abandoned rest stop. They found broken glass, but the man and his car were gone. They put out alerts, described him, searched the highways, but nothing. He had vanished. I had to stay in that little town for 3 days while my car was fixed. Every night I thought about him. About his smile. About the way he called me a liar, like he knew something about me I didn't. Here's the part that keeps me up sometimes. Why did he follow me? Out of every car that had probably pulled into that rest stop before me, why me? Was it really just because I didn't give him $1 for the vending machine? Or because I didn't want to talk to him? Or was he waiting there for anyone, hiding in the dark, ready to play his little game with whoever stopped? I'll never know. All I know is this. Sometimes when I'm driving late at night and I see an empty rest stop, I think about pulling in. And then I picture that grin, that voice chanting liar, and I keep driving. Because some people out there aren't just weird. Some people are monsters wearing human skin. And you never really know which one you're meeting until it's too late.